The discovery and warning. Lieutenant Maya Chen's eyes burned from staring at the holographic displays for nearly 16 hours straight. The clandestine intelligence operation to breach the Arcturus Alliance's secure databanks had been her idea, a desperate gamble that the High Command had reluctantly approved after months of suspicious activity near the outer colonies. "Lieutenant, I've got something," whispered technical specialist Raj Patel, his voice barely audible over the low hum of the stealth vessel's systems. "The encryption is unlike anything I've seen, but there's a pattern in the data streams that matches the anomalies we detected on Nueva Terra." Maya moved to his station, the weightlessness of the ship's minimal gravity making her movements fluid despite her exhaustion. "Show me." Raj's fingers danced across the haptic interface, pulling strands of data into a coherent whole. "It's a research initiative, classified at the highest level. Operation Harvest." The holographic display shifted, revealing medical imagery, genetic sequences, and what appeared to be experimental logs. Maya's stomach clenched as the pieces fell into place. "Those are human brain patterns," she whispered. "And those are children." For 3 years, colonists on the frontier worlds had reported missing children, individual cases that seemed like tragic accidents or, occasionally, suspected kidnappings. Local authorities investigated but found nothing. Earth's Central Command had noticed the pattern only when an analyst named Kim Sung-ho had compiled the data across all colonies. Even then, the numbers hadn't seemed alarming until recently. "There are thousands of them," Raj said, his voice breaking as he expanded the database. "No, tens of thousands. Maya, according to these records, they've taken 127,423 human children over the past 5 years. Maya felt cold rage crystallize in her chest. The Arcturus Alliance, a coalition of 7 advanced alien civilizations, had welcomed humanity into the galactic community 80 years ago. They had shared technology, opened trade routes, and offered protection against the more predatory species in the sector. Humanity had been grateful, had trusted them. "What are they doing to them?" she asked, though part of her didn't want to know. Raj hesitated before opening another file. "They're experimenting on them. Something about human neuroplasticity and psychic potential." He swallowed hard. None of the subjects have survived the procedures. Maya's training as an intelligence officer had prepared her for many things, but not for this, not for systematic atrocity on this scale. "Download everything," she ordered, "and initiate protocol blackout." "Maya, that's a direct violation of the Alliance Treaty. If we go dark—" "The treaty is already dead," she cut him off. "They murdered our children, Raj. Get us out of here." The small stealth vessel broke orbit around the gas giant that had concealed their presence from the Alliance monitoring stations. As they accelerated toward the jump point, Maya composed the most difficult message of her career, a report that would change the course of human history. Admiral Elena Vasiliev stood before the United Earth Defense Council, her weathered face grim as the evidence played on screens around the chamber. 70 representatives from Earth and the colonies watched in stunned horror. Some wept openly. Others sat in rigid silence, faces pale with shock and rage. "We have confirmed the data recovered by Lieutenant Chen's team," the Admiral said when the presentation ended. "The Arcturus Alliance has been systematically abducting and experimenting on human children for the past 5 years. Their research indicates they believe humans possess a unique genetic potential they call the awakening, abilities that they fear could eventually challenge their dominance." "Why children?" asked the representative from Mars, her voice hollow. "The Alliance's research suggests that human neural pathways become less adaptable after puberty. They've been—" Elena paused, steadying herself. "They've been attempting to isolate and enhance these latent abilities while the brain is still developing." The chamber erupted in angry shouts and demands for immediate action. Admiral Vasiliev raised her hand for silence. "I understand your anger. I share it. But before we decide on our response, there's something else you need to know." She nodded to her aide, who activated another display. This is why the Alliance fears us. The hologram showed what appeared to be humans demonstrating extraordinary abilities: telekinesis, telepathy, precognition, abilities that most of humanity believed were nothing but science fiction. Project Oracle, Elena explained. 50 years ago, we discovered certain individuals possessed these capabilities naturally. Rather than announce this to the galaxy, we created a classified program to understand and develop these abilities, always in secret, always with volunteers. "You're saying the Alliance is right to fear us?" asked the lunar representative incredulously. "I'm saying they discovered what we already knew," Helena replied. "But while we studied these abilities ethically, with willing participants, they'd been torturing and killing children to unlock our genetic secrets." Maya Chen watched from the back of the chamber, still processing everything she'd learned since returning to Earth. The existence of Project Oracle had been as shocking to her as the Alliance's betrayal. "What are our options?" asked President Alejandro Rivera, his normally resonant voice subdued. Admiral Vasiliev's expression hardened. "For 80 years, we've presented ourselves as technologically dependent on the Alliance. That was a strategic decision made by our predecessors, who suspected the Alliance might not be as benevolent as they appeared." She activated another display, showing orbital installations and fleets hidden throughout the solar system and beyond. "This is our true defense capability. While publicly accepting Alliance technology, we've been developing our own in secret. Our actual military strength is approximately 7 times what the Alliance believes we possess." Stunned silence filled the chamber. Additionally, Elena continued, "Operation Phantom Shield has allowed us to conceal the existence of 17 self-sufficient colony worlds from Alliance knowledge. We have a place for our people if Earth falls." President Rivera leaned forward. "You've been preparing for war with our allies for decades." "We've been preparing for the possibility that they were never our allies," Elena corrected. "And now we know they weren't." Lieutenant Chen stepped forward at the Admiral's gesture. "There's one more thing," she said. "According to the data we recovered, the Alliance is planning to escalate their program. They've built new facilities designed to process thousands of subjects simultaneously. They're planning mass abductions from our most populated colonies within the month." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. "What do you recommend, Admiral?" President Rivera finally asked. "We evacuate as many of our people from Alliance territories as possible, using our stealth capabilities. Then we issue an ultimatum. Release any surviving children immediately and withdraw all Alliance forces from human space. And if they refuse..." Admiral Vasiliev's eyes were cold steel. "Then we show them exactly why they were right to fear us." The evacuation began silently, covertly. Stealth ships appeared in the night on a dozen Alliance worlds, extracting human colonists who had been briefed only hours before. Colonial security forces, long embedded within these communities, coordinated the operations with precision, born of years of training for exactly this scenario. On New Horizon, the Alliance's showcase world for human-alien cooperation, Evacuation Commander Darius Jackson moved through the colony's main settlement, his team disguised as maintenance workers. "We have 4 hours before the Alliance security grid detects the anomalies in the power system," he told the gathered colonists in the community hall. "Pack only what you can carry. No electronics that might be tracked." A woman stood, cradling an infant. "My husband works in the Alliance Research Center. He's not due home until tomorrow." Darius met her eyes steadily. "We'll have a teen waiting for him, but we need to move the main group now." "Why?" demanded an older man. "We've lived peacefully with the Alliance for decades. What's changed?" Darius hesitated, then activated his wrist projector. The evidence played for only 30 seconds, just long enough. The room fell silent except for gasps and muffled sobs. "They've taken our children," Darius said simply. "And they were coming for yours next." Within 3 hours, 97% of New Horizons' human population had vanished into the night. Similar scenes play out across Alliance space as humanity quietly slipped away, leaving homes, possessions, and lives behind. Grand Admiral Jolax of the Arcturus Alliance studied the reports with growing concern. Human populations across multiple worlds were mysteriously disappearing. Security forces arriving to investigate found empty homes with meals still on tables, as if the occupants had simply walked away in the middle of their lives. Could it be some kind of mass hysteria? Asked Sub-Commander Terrell. Perhaps they've developed a new religion or cult. Across 17 worlds simultaneously, Jolax's facial tendrils twitched in agitation. No, this is coordinated. But how? Human technology doesn't include mass teleportation or cloaking capabilities. Perhaps we've underestimated them, suggested his intelligence director, Venkar. Jolax dismissed the notion. Impossible. We've monitored their development carefully since first contact. Their military capabilities are precisely what our intelligence suggests, adequate for self-defense against minor threats, nothing more. The communication array chimed, indicating a priority transmission. Jolax gestured, and a holographic projection materialized in the center of the command chamber. Admiral Elena Vassiliev appeared, wearing the formal uniform of the United Earth Defense Forces. Grand Admiral Jolax, she began without preamble. I speak on behalf of all humanity. We have discovered your Operation Harvest and the atrocities committed against our children. We know of the 127,423 who were abducted, tortured, and murdered in your facilities. Jolax felt his inner membranes constrict in shock. How had they accessed that information? The security protocols were beyond anything human technology could breach. We have issued a recall for all humans living under Alliance jurisdiction, Elena continued. Most have already been evacuated to safety. Now we make our demands. Return any surviving children immediately. Withdraw all Alliance forces from human space within 72 hours. Surrender those responsible for these crimes against our species for trial under human justice. Jolax found his voice. Admiral Vassiliev, there seems to be some misunderstanding. If you have concerns about Alliance research initiatives, there are diplomatic channels. We've seen the records. Admiral, Elena cut him off. We've seen our children screaming as your scientists dismantled them piece by piece. There will be no diplomacy. Her image was replaced by footage from Operation Harvest. Children strapped to examination tables, their skulls opened while they remained conscious, scientists calmly taking notes as the subjects screamed in agony. You have 72 hours, Elena's voice continued as the horrific images played. After that, we will consider the Arcturus Alliance to be at war with humanity. The transmission ended, leaving the Alliance Command Center in stunned silence. Jolax was the first to recover. An empty threat, he declared, though his voice lacked conviction. Their entire fleet couldn't stand against a single Alliance battle group. Sir, said Venkar, his voice unusually hesitant, our deep space monitoring stations are detecting unusual energy signatures throughout human territory. Massive power sources that weren't there before, or that we couldn't detect until now. Grand Admiral Jolax felt the first flutter of genuine fear. Had the Alliance's greatest fear come true? Had humanity been concealing its true nature all along? Deploy the fleet, he ordered. All of it. If the humans want war, we'll show them exactly why the Alliance has ruled this sector for 10,000 years. As the command center erupted into activity, Jolax gazed at the frozen image of Admiral Vassiliev on the screen. There was something in her eyes that disturbed him, not grief or rage, but absolute certainty. The look of someone who knew exactly what was about to happen and who had prepared for this moment for a very long time. For the first time in his long career, Grand Admiral Jolax wondered if he had made a terrible mistake. Humanity's vengeance. The Alliance War Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from all 7 member species gathered in the ancient chamber beneath the crystal spires of Arcturus Prime. Grand Admiral Jolax stood before them, his usual confidence noticeably diminished. The human ultimatum expires in 24 hours, he informed the assembled leaders. Our intelligence suggests this is nothing more than a desperate bluff. Their military capabilities remain exactly as our long-term assessments have indicated. Supreme Counselor Nyx Era of the Illithid Concordat, the oldest and most powerful of the Alliance founders, fixed Jolax with all four of her eyes. Then explained the disappearance of human populations across 17 worlds. Admiral, explain how they breached our most secure databases to discover Operation Harvest. We believe they employed mercenaries from the Outer Rim, Jolax replied, though his facial tendrils betrayed his uncertainty. Perhaps the Xavix or the Dorset Collective. Speculation, dismissed War Master Krug of the Vormag Imperium, his massive form shifting impatiently. I care only about facts. Can their fleet challenge ours, or not? Absolutely not, Jolax insisted. We outnumber them 7-1 in capital ships alone. Their weapons technology is at least 2 generations behind our current deployment. If they actually attempt military action, the conflict would be over within days. Then why evacuate their populations? Asked Ambassador Teleth of the Side Dominion, her luminescent skin pulsing with skepticism. Why issue threats they cannot enforce? It defies logical behavior patterns. Before Jolax could respond, the chamber's security fields shimmered and collapsed. The emergency lighting activated as all 7 representatives reached instinctively for weapons that weren't there. A holographic figure materialized in the center of the chamber, a human woman in a simple gray uniform, her dark hair streaked with silver, her eyes reflecting a depth of knowledge that sent a cold tremor through the assembled leaders. I am Director Sophia Rise of Project Oracle, she said, her voice echoing in the suddenly silent chamber. Your security systems are temporarily under our control. I wanted to address you directly before you make a decision that will result in the extinction of your civilizations. Jolax stepped forward. How dare you? You took our children. Sophia cut him off, her voice utterly calm. You dissected them while they were still conscious. You recorded their screams for your research. And you plan to take more. Her gaze swept the chamber. For 80 years, we have hidden our true nature from you. You believed us to be technological infants, dependent on your guidance. That was what we wanted you to believe. The hologram expanded, showing massive orbital installations around Earth and its colonies, shipyards, defense platforms, and fleets that dwarfed anything the Alliance had attributed to human capability. This is our actual military strength, Sophia continued. We have maintained this deception since our first contact with your Alliance, when our telepaths sensed your fear and your intentions. Supreme Counselor Nyx Era rose from her seat. Impossible. Our species would have detected any psychic abilities. Not if those abilities were specifically evolved to evade detection, Sophia replied. Humanity has lived alongside predators throughout our evolutionary history. We learned to hide. The hologram changed again, showing humans demonstrating abilities that made even the War Master step back. Telekinetic force that crumpled battle armor like paper, telepathic intrusions that bypassed all known shields, precognitive awareness that anticipated attacks before they were even conceived. Project Oracle has quietly identified and trained those with these gifts for the past 50 years, Sophia explained. 1 in every 1,000 humans possesses some form of these abilities naturally. Through ethical research with willing participants, we've learned to enhance these traits. If you possess such power, why reveal yourselves now? Asked Ambassador Teleth. Why not earlier, or not at all? Sophia's expression hardened. Because you crossed the one line we could not forgive. You took our children, and through their suffering, you inadvertently accelerated what you feared most. The hologram showed a final image. Thousands of humans, eyes closed in meditation, surrounded by a visible energy field that distorted the very fabric of space around them. The awakening you so feared has already begun, Sophia said softly. Not because of your experiments, but because of our grief and rage. Our collective consciousness has synchronized in response to your atrocities. We offer you one last chance. withdraw from human space, return any surviving children, and surrender those responsible. The hologram vanished, leaving the Alliance War Council in stunned silence. After a long moment, War Master Krug let out a barking laugh. "An impressive display of holographic trickery," he declared. "Nothing more." Grand Admiral Jolax wasn't so certain. "We should at least consider." "Consider what?" interrupted Nixera. "Capitulating to a lesser species based on threats and illusions. The Alliance has stood for 10,000 years precisely, because we do not bow to intimidation." The vote was unanimous. The Alliance would make no concessions. The human ultimatum would be met with overwhelming military force. On the hidden installation designated Oracle Prime, deep within the asteroid belt of humanity's home system, Director Sophia Reyes opened her eyes as her consciousness returned fully to her body. "They've made their choice," she said to the others in the meditation chamber. "They don't believe us." Admiral Vasiliev nodded, unsurprised. Pride has always been their weakness. "The evacuation is 97% complete. We've rescued all but a few thousand of our people from Alliance territory." "And Operation Starbreak?" Sophia asked. "Ready to implement at your command." Sophia closed her eyes briefly. She had devoted her life to understanding and developing humanity's hidden potential, always hoping these abilities would lead to greater communion with other sentient species, not conflict. Even now, knowing what the Alliance had done, she felt no pleasure in what was to come. "Proceed," she said simply. Across Alliance space, a synchronized assault began with a precision that would later be studied in military academies for centuries. Human stealth vessels, previously undetectable to Alliance sensors, decloaked in strategic positions near key military installations, power centers, and command nodes. The vessels themselves were unremarkable, small, nimble craft that appeared to pose no significant threat to Alliance defenses. It was their occupants who changed the course of the war before it truly began. On each vessel were teams of Oracle operatives, humans whose psychic abilities had been honed through decades of training. Working in concert, they reached out with their minds, bypassing physical defenses entirely. On the Alliance fortress world of Krell Prime, defense grid operators suddenly found themselves unable to access their systems. Some reported seeing ghostly human children standing beside their workstations, silently watching with hollow eyes. In the Fleet Command Center on Arcturus Prime, Admiral Jolax was coordinating the massive Alliance response when the command interfaces went dark. When emergency systems activated, they displayed only one message across all screens: 127,423 HFY. Throughout Alliance space, similar scenes unfolded as humanity struck not primarily with weapons, but with abilities the Alliance had feared yet failed to truly comprehend. Maya Chen stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force flagship Retribution, watching tactical displays as reports flowed in from across Alliance territory. "Sir, Oracle teams report 94% success rate in Phase 1 neutralization," reported her communications officer. "Alliance defense networks are paralyzed across 17 systems. Their fleet is fragmented and unable to coordinate." Admiral Vasiliev studied the strategic projection with the calm efficiency that had defined her 30-year career. "Deploy the main fleet," she ordered. "Tactical targets only. I want their military capability neutralized, not their civilian populations." Maya hesitated before asking the question that had haunted her since discovering the Alliance's atrocities. "Admiral, what about the research facilities? What about the scientists who—" She couldn't finish the sentence. Alina Vasiliev's expression revealed nothing, but her eyes held the cold fire of controlled rage. "Special forces are already deploying to those locations. Any personnel involved in Operation Harvest will face justice under the Genocide Conventions." The bridge fell silent as everyone processed the implications. The term genocide had not been officially used until now, but all knew it was the appropriate designation for what the Alliance had done. "The Alliance War Council has issued a general transmission," reported the communications officer. They're requesting immediate cessation of hostilities and offering to negotiate. Put it through, Alina ordered. Supreme Counselor Nyx Era appeared on the main screen, her usual imperious demeanor replaced by barely concealed panic. Admiral Vassiliev, this conflict serves neither of our interests. Whatever grievances exist between our civilizations can be addressed through diplomatic channels. We are prepared to make significant concessions regarding human autonomy within Alliance space. Admiral Vassiliev's response was measured, her voice steady. You have not acknowledged the crime, Counselor. 127,423 children. Abducted, tortured, murdered. Where is your offer of justice for them? Nyx Era faltered. There may have been unauthorized research initiatives that... We have the records, Counselor, Alina interrupted. The authorization codes, the funding appropriations, the personnel assignments, all approved at the highest levels of Alliance governance. She leaned forward slightly, her posture the only indication of the emotion behind her words. You believed you could sacrifice our children for your security. You believed we were too weak to stop you. You were wrong on both counts. As if to punctuate her statement, the tactical display showed the simultaneous collapse of 7 major Alliance defense installations across as many systems, facilities that had stood for centuries, neutralized in minutes by Oracle teams working in perfect synchronization. What do you want? Nyx Era finally asked, all pretense of superiority gone. Unconditional surrender of all Alliance forces, Alina replied. Complete withdrawal from human space, as defined in the coordinates we're transmitting now. The immediate transfer of all surviving human subjects from your research facilities, and the surrender of every individual involved in Operation Harvest, from the scientists who performed the procedures to the leaders who authorized them. And if we refuse? Admiral Vassiliev's expression didn't change, but her voice dropped to a near whisper. Then we will show you exactly what the children you tortured could have become. The Alliance's capitulation came 18 hours later, after human forces had systematically disabled their military capacity across 23 star systems, without a single major population center being targeted. It was a demonstration of precision and restraint that terrified the Alliance leadership far more than indiscriminate destruction would have. The formal surrender was signed aboard the Retribution, with representatives from all 7 Alliance species present. The terms were non-negotiable: complete withdrawal from human space, reparations for the families of the victims, and the transfer of all individuals involved in Operation Harvest to human custody for trial. Maya Chen watched from the observation deck as the Alliance delegates departed, their once proud demeanor reduced to shell-shocked compliance. They still don't understand what happened, said a voice beside her. Director Sophia Rice had joined her, looking exhausted but resolute. Do we? Maya asked. Everything I thought I knew about humanity changed when I saw what the Oracle teams could do. Sophia smiled faintly. We've only glimpsed the beginning of our potential. The awakening is still unfolding, accelerated by our collective grief and determination. What comes next is up to us. And what about them? Maya nodded toward the departing Alliance shuttle. Will they try again? Target another species if not us? Perhaps. Sophia turned to face the vast starfield beyond the viewport. That's why we're sending observers, volunteers from the Oracle program who will remain in Alliance space, monitoring their activities from the shadows, not as spies or saboteurs, but as guardians. Maya considered this. And the message? The final warning we're broadcasting to the galaxy. Sophia's expression turned solemn. A truth they need to understand. Throughout known space, on every frequency across every communication network, a single message played. It showed the evidence of the Alliance's crimes against human children, followed by the swift, decisive response that had brought a 10,000-year-old power to its knees in less than 2 days. The message concluded with Admiral Alina Vassiliev addressing not just the Alliance, but all spacefaring civilizations. To all who receive this transmission, humanity has emerged from darkness into light. We sought peaceful cooperation with the galactic community. Instead, we found betrayal and the systematic murder of our children. Let our response serve as both warning and promise. We do not seek conflict. We do not desire conquest. But know this with absolute certainty. We will defend our own with every capability at our disposal. The human spirit, once awakened, cannot be subdued. The human mind, once enlightened, cannot be darkened again. If you come seeking friendship, you will find it in abundance. If you come seeking knowledge and mutual growth, our hands are extended in welcome. But if you come with hostility or deception, if you threaten our children or our future, you will find that humanity's potential is far greater than you can imagine. This is not a threat. It is simply the truth of who we have become. Remember the Alliance. Remember what happened when they tested our resolve. And choose wisely how you wish to know us. The transmission ended with a simple sentence in every known language of the galaxy. Humanity has awakened. We hope you come in peace. 5 years later, Lieutenant Maya Chen, now Ambassador Chen, stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, the massive diplomatic hub that marked the boundary between human space and the wider galaxy. Beside her stood representatives from 12 non-alliance civilizations, witnessing the formal opening of new diplomatic relations. "Is it true," asked the Trilician ambassador hesitantly, "that human children can move objects with their minds?" Maya smiled. "Some can, with training. Others have different gifts. We're still learning about our own potential." "And the Alliance?" asked another representative. "What has become of them?" "They survive," Maya replied evenly. "Diminished, but rebuilding. The war criminals have been tried and sentenced. The rest of their civilization continues under observation." "Observation by your oracle teams," noted the Trilician, a touch of fear in their voice. "By observers who ensure that what happened to our children never happens to anyone else's," Maya corrected gently. "We have no desire for revenge or dominion, only justice and security." As the diplomatic reception continued around them, Maya gazed out at the stars, thinking of the journey that had brought humanity to this point. The path had been marked by unimaginable loss and grief, but also by the discovery of strength they had never known they possessed. The awakening continued to spread through human consciousness, not a weapon to be wielded against others, but a transformation that connected them more deeply to each other and to the universe itself. What had begun in response to atrocity was becoming something else, an evolution of the human spirit that promised new possibilities for connection and understanding across the stars. Maya thought of the 127,423 children who would never see this day. Their loss would always be an open wound in humanity's collective heart, but their memory had become the foundation for a new chapter in human history, one where humanity's place in the galaxy would never again be defined by others, and where the full measure of human potential would finally be realized. As the first diplomatic agreements were signed, marking humanity's emergence as a major power in the galactic community, Maya whispered a promise to those lost children. "You are remembered. You are honored. And because of you, no one will ever mistake our compassion for weakness again." Across human space, millions of minds heard her thought and added their own silent affirmation. The stars themselves seemed to burn a little brighter in response.